My chat is now working. Okay. Perfect. Okay, down at the bottom it just shows notifications. Perfect. Okay. If I get another notification and somebody's coming in, it will let us know. So perfect. All right. First off, like I said, I'm going to introduce you. You said you just wanted to be called by your name.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very bad habit of calling you guys, because I'm not military, you are, by
Was.
your last name.
If you need to call me Carter, that's fine.
Okay, good. So, Carter, you were, I still think you are, a United States Marine from 99 to 2003. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep. United States Coast Guard from 05 to 25.
Correct.
You retired August 2025.
Correct.
Your MOS in the Marine Corps was 1371 Combat Engineer.
Yes.
And your rate in the United States Coast Guard was Boatswain's Mate First Class. Correct?
That was my final pay grade. Yes.
Final pay grade. Perfect. First, what I want to do is you sent me something that you were very proud of, and I want to read it to anybody that may be here, but I still want to read it out. Okay, Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America to who shall see these presenting, how see these presents greeting. This is to certify that Boatswain's Mate First Class Jesse A. Carter, having been retired after honorable service in the United States Coast Guard, is awarded this testimonial and acknowledgement of duty faithfully performed during a period of over 20 years, done at Washington, D.C. this first day of August in the year of our Lord, and it's very hard to read, I'm sorry,
2025.
2025.
Yep.
And that was from the United States Coast Guard. You also showed me your box, your shadow box from the Marine Corps, which I love.
They combined the shadow box because of the two services, and with the boatswain mate, it's spelled Boatswain, so you would think Boatswain,
Right.
but it's actually pronounced BOS.
BOS what?
Boatswain.
Bosun. Well, thanks for correcting me.
All good. It's Latin.
It is. Now that you say it.
Just like the job that we performed, it was spelled COXSWAIN. Coxswain.
Right.
Pronounced COXN. Coxswain.
Oh wow.
That's the person who's in charge of the boat while it's underway.
So it's not like what we would call, what we hear on TV all the time. It's not your first mate. Your first mate is someone else. Like on a regular boat, you have your captain.
The captain.
So it's the same thing. But
in the Coast Guard, it differentiates. If you're on a vessel that's 65 feet or greater, that's a ship. You have a captain. That's a commissioned officer, lieutenant, commander, that type. 65 feet less, you have an enlisted person, E5, E6, which at the time of my retirement, I was in E6. The person in charge of that is called coxswain. It doesn't matter whatever rank, who's on the boat, the person who has that designation is the one who's in charge of the boat because of the training process that we went through and because of we go out on a check ride, an oral board, test of knowledge. That's the individual who's been determined to be the most senior, regardless of rank.
Do you guys switch? Like, do you have shifts?
Yes. You can have multiple coxswains on one boat. In fact, there are a lot of times with the three of us that were all coxswains. One would be what we call the coxswain in charge. And everyone else, we just acted as crew members.
Got it. So I told you I wouldn't go through this too terribly, but what prompted you, and I'm going to laugh when you say it because we went over this, but what prompted you to join the military, the Marine Corps firstly?
I grew up in the 1980s. I was born in 1979. I watched He-Man, Rambo, all the Sylvester Stallone, the Predator movies, all the macho type ones that grew up through that. I had all the G.I. Joe toys, He-Man stuff in the 90s, the wrestlers and all that.
Oh my God.
And I never liked school. I was bad at math. I was like, well, why am I doing this? And the military was just always one of those that seemed like an easy option because all you really had to do was contact a recruiter. Hey, we're ready to go. So long story into that, after I graduated high school and it was time to sign up, I said, nope, let's go ahead and get this done.
Perfect. Now, while you were in the Marine Corps, did you? I'm sure you guys have like TV calls it platoons. There's a lot of other names for it.
Depends on the size.
Depends on the size. That's what I've heard.
A platoon is 30 people. So a fire team is 3. A squad is 6. Platoon is 30. A company is 3 platoons, so 90. A battalion is 3 companies, so 90 times 3, and it just builds from there.
Got it. But that's interesting because I didn't know that.
Our basic way of reporting was in the platoon.
Got it.
The daily, in the morning when we would do our daily formations, and it would vary. You might have 32, 26. It was never an exact amount. And whoever was in charge of that depended on their rank. A corporal would be in charge of a squad, 7 people. A sergeant, and this is different for the Army.
Sure.
This is strictly Marine Corps. A sergeant would be in charge of a platoon. A gunnery sergeant, which was an E7, they would be in charge. You would have an officer, a commissioned officer in 03 in the Marines, which is a captain. They would be in charge of the company. And then the gunnery sergeant would be their enlisted assistant. And that's how it would break down from there.
Now, when I was growing up, I would always hear this term, jarhead. I thought it was a racial slur towards each other. Like, it wasn't the Coast Guard, it was the Navy calling the Marine Corps names, and the Marine Corps would call them names, but they still work together.
Yeah.
You know, tremendously. And I'm like, why are you calling him a jarhead? Is it because he has to shave his head? What are you doing?
It was, so the way I describe it, it's a derogatory term.
Mm-hmm.
Marine to Marine, we can call each other that. Service member to service member, if we know each other, we can call each other that. For somebody who doesn't know me, to call me a jarhead, that's an insult.
That's an insult. That's like a slur. Yeah.
And I have gotten into it before with individuals who they didn't know that it was considered derogatory. So I helped educate them that it was derogatory and why it was, and that to call me that, it's an earned kind of thing.
Sure.
It's just like you meet somebody, you have to develop that friendship with them.
Are you there? Oh, I think he's back.
Just cut off for us.
There we go. Okay, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
People that are in close-knit circles with each other, they can call each other by names that if you don't know them, you can't call them that. Jarhead is one of those terms.
I hated it. Even though I was, I was in a military family. My dad was in the Army, and my great-grandfather was in the Army, and my grandpa was in the Army. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go into the Corps.
Mm-hmm.
But for some odd reason, it seemed to be easier with people in the generation before me. I'm not trying to make this about me, but what started happening was I noticed that if you don't pass a certain part of your ASVAB, you can't get in. Even if you pass everything else.
The ASVAB is one of those, it's an aptitude test. You don't necessarily feel it. You'll do lower in certain parts and better in certain parts. And that lets the military know where you're inclined. Example, I'm trying to join as an electrician's mate. There's the 10 separate parts of the ASVAB. One of them does involve electronics. Let's say that I get everything wrong on that electronics portion, but on the mechanics portion, because I know about tools, carburetors, internal combustion engines, I score high on that, they're going to say, you're not suited for an electrician. You need to be the mechanic. And you might find that out after you join the military.
They won't tell you up front.
Needs of the service. Seen that happen.
Now, the other thing, both of you, how you and I met, we noticed that there's a lot of people online that has a lot of questions about SSDI, their TRICARE, or there's a lot of people that are ignorant. And I mean uneducated when I said the word ignorant. When it comes to Champ VA, Social Security, disability, their ranking, which I thought was a bunch of crap until I spoke to a couple people, and then I spoke to you. I thought it was these websites trying to get to these veterans and make them pay money to like their credit score.
Right.
And I'm like, leave these people alone. What are you doing? But come to find out, there is, quote unquote, a ranking when it comes to how you get your disability, how you get they call it P&T,
permanent and total.
Okay, and I'm like, geez, it's so much red tape.
It's a lot.
And people go through years without being able to get. I've heard of some service members, a month before they pass away, they were approved. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, when you get your quote, you have to be 100%. You have to have a condition that's permanent, meaning, according to the VA, it is not going to improve within the veteran's lifespan. I'm sorry, I talk in my hands.
Sure.
The 100% is what makes it total. So that's where you get your P&T. We call that the holy grail. When your condition is permanent, it can't be reevaluated. Here's an example. Tinnitus, 10%. Permanent. It's not going to get better. 10% is like $175 with the VA. Now, total knee replacement surgery, 100%. I'm going to get better. I'm going to heal. I can be reevaluated in a year, 2 years, whenever, and then that can be lowered down into the 70, 50. So you have to have conditions that warrant something permanent and that get to the 100% to get the, as we say, the holy grail, the 100% P&T.
Got it.
I didn't know that until I went to apply for my property tax exemption. I brought my letter in that said 100%, and the lady asked me, am I permanent and total? I said, I'm 100%. She said, well, are you permanent and total? I said, can you be 100% not permanent and total? I didn't know that at the time. You got to dig through those letters and find a particular condition that says this is.
Are you there? You froze. Not sure if you can hear me. I'm going to try to refresh.